What up, though? No one asked if you want to be here, but you're here and we're gonna take it from here. Because I just skipped a bunch of uninteresting, disgusting, and rather infuriating episodes of your life. But it's okay, because at this point, it's already good enough to predict the course of your life with reasonable accuracy.
Although it is the norm for your parents and teachers to treat you as a mystery of unbounded potential, yours didn't.
Well, that must suck. At least you learned earlier on that this existence isn't just about you, which, to be honest, is a great start if your ultimate goal is to end up like this guy. Or this guy. Anyway, you barely notice the effect of things like gender, geographical location, culture, genetic makeup, household income, parenting style, school, etc. You'll definitely wish some of them were different later on, but let's not get ahead of ourselves right now. We'll assume that everything goes well from here on. So, what's the list of things that could go wrong from now on? Molestation, parents' divorce, bullying, war, drugs, everything that could count as an excuse for your very probable failures later on. But don't worry, your long-term memory constantly mutates to fit the current narratives you swallow. So, you'll find a way to hallucinate others' traumas as some sort of vicarious excuses for your own failures anyway. Fast forward a little bit, and this is around the time your species starts experiencing significant physiological changes. Naturally induced or artificial. Any unindoctrinated lab supervisor can see that depending on your gender, you will have somewhat different weights for those two main values in your life. Fucking people and annoying people. And you will get paid more for the activity your gender stereotypically likes the least. In other words, you will make more money from sex work than raising kids if you're a female, and if you're a male, tolerating a community of uninteresting coworkers and a boss will pay you more than, let's say, OnlyFans. Negative money. A bit of defiance or laziness at this stage could certainly make sure you're forever cock-blocked from your dream job, but it doesn't matter anyway, as you've just seen that you'll probably end up in the business of prostitution. That is, prostituting your mind, corporate, or your body. A few years later, and we're gonna be talking about early adulthood. It is clear now that some people are just, better than others. But this statement is incomplete, and the rest of the sentence gets clearer, just not now yet. At this point, if you're not delusional, you'll viscerally understand that markets will pigeonhole your unnecessary individuality, rounding it up to the nearest department store or fast food chain. Although you could choose to postpone this lesson by zeroing in on academia, and learn it eventually after 3 to 4 years of isolated self-importance in an insulated harbor, usually referred to as a university campus, with less money and greater shock eventually. Individuality is a misnomer at this point though, because even if you manage to avoid copying the interests of your geographically closest peers, you won't find it easy to escape these corners of the internet. You're probably not the outlier that has worked hard enough in the right direction and has his career path already figured out. So you'll find yourself under the mercy of pre-tuned predispositions, proclivities, and a pre- and post-transient state of the market you're in. But all of that is unintelligible, as you're not that savvy to comprehend it yourself at this point. Don't worry though, your parents will read it for you, under the condition of rescinding support should you choose a contradicting plan. Oh, they're too stupid or busy to read it for you? Well, don't worry, you'll need the skill later anyway. You're already ahead of the curve if you could decide this for yourself honestly. So just choose whatever your means dictate, and please don't try to be the next Travis Lamar. On second thought, it really doesn't hurt to try. Just don't waste your precious youth screaming at random chats at literal light speed, back at an audience 15-year-old mental age on average, trying to be the next iShow Sinet. You know what, it doesn't hurt neither. You could try it. But please, don't waste your time watching the stream itself. Okay, boom. A few years later, early to mid-20s, you'll manage to score a major achievement. Don't read too much into it. I mean, honestly, with this economy and generation, just consider yourself a winner if you got laid but didn't have a baby, made a living doing something you hate, or got a worthless degree. Only 1 in 500 in a wealthy economy becomes a millionaire by this age anyway. And speaking of tail events, the greatest mathematicians, physicists, athletes, and musicians can already see that it's a matter of time until they make it into their relevant Hall of Fame. While the greatest entrepreneurs, economists, politicians, and certainly philosophers are yet to figure out their calling. Controlling the masses, that is. They'll almost give up on greatness until they realize the only skill needed to lead the masses: their inability to master their field while looking like they are busy saving the world. Anyway, life will keep moving faster if you fucked around and had a baby. But it's time for you to complete the sentence earlier now. Some people are better, but better is such a dynamic and nebulous state of being, and it is more of a culmination of self-selecting a well-suited role to play in society and serendipitously having access to that role in the first place. What you learned in college didn't matter, nor what you learned outside of it. Institutions and organizations are more worried about things like, are you easy to work with, and whether or not you suffer from Gen Z syndrome, or whatever the fashionable syndrome your current generation suffers from. This is probably the best time to start answering questions like, do I want kids? Should I plan for retirement? If you answer yes to both questions, you'll take a difficult yet eventually rewarding path, as your kids could serve as a plan B for your original retirement plan. But this is such an inefficient way to go about life, in my opinion, because if you answer no to both questions, your retirement will cost less than $2.